Good. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 26th Litchfield Budget Committee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and tonight we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Before we get going tonight, we do have a remote participant, so I'll need to entertain a motion to allow for remote participation.
So made.
A motion by Ms. Douglas, second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Have to do a roll call.
After this one, yes. Opposed, abstain, motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7-0-0. We have Mr. Scott Taylor joining us virtually tonight. Mr. Taylor, if you can just let us know your reason for being remote tonight, and if anyone is with you.
I'm at the Charlotte airport, so yes, there are people around, but nobody's sitting next to me, and here due to flight delays.
Well, safe travels home. I can relate to you because I was in that exact same airport about 3 days ago. So hopefully you get home a lot faster than I did. Safe travels home. With that, we also have Mr. Barca is absent this evening for homecoming for his son. And then we have our newest member, Mr. LaPlante, who is here this evening. So I want to welcome Mr. LaPlante to his first official budget committee meeting. So welcome.
Thank you.
Send you an email with the link.
All right, with that, any review or additions to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we will open it up for public input. Any public input this evening? Seeing none, we will close public input. We'll have a second public input session after tonight's business agenda. Next, we have correspondence, and I want to thank our new vice chair, Mr. Taylor, for putting together our correspondence earlier this week. I'm going to read this out, and Mr. Sullivan has this captured for the minutes as well. On August 22nd, Julie Darling shared the August 21st BA report. Chairman Sun forwarded an email from Mr. Cutter with the BA report and notification of the above. On August 23rd, Chairman Sun emailed the board with the town budget presentation schedule and draft of the town budget. On August 24th, Matthew Sullivan shared the draft meeting minutes from August 22nd. On August 27th, Chairman Sun emailed the board to have the appointment papers for Mr. LaPlante signed. On August 28th, Mr. LaPlante emailed the board that he will be sworn in once a majority of signatures have been obtained. On August 30th, Heather Schneemann sent the town budget report as of 9/3/24, special fund balances and budgeted revenues for July. On September 2nd, Chairman Sun forwarded an email from Ms. Kleiner addressing questions about impact fees. On September 20th, Ms. Simon sent the town budget report as of 9/20/24, special fund balances and budgeted revenues for August. September 21st, Chairman Sun forwarded the town proposed budget. And then on September 22nd, Mr. Sullivan shared the draft meeting minutes for the meeting on August 22nd. That is our correspondence. And with that, I'll entertain a motion for review and acceptance of our minutes from the August 22nd meeting.
So made.
Motion by Mr. Hayes, second by Mr. Burke.
There was one area that, when we were talking about the water purchase, it was in the minutes that it would eliminate the cost for maintenance, and that wasn't what was discussed. It was everything else. It was the cost of the system and the cost of the fire hydrants. So if you can just scratch that.
Scratch that.
One line, that would be fine.
Scratch the portion, so review or acceptance as amended. Okay. All those in favor, we will have to do a roll call vote tonight for the rest of the evening. Start with Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Cutter.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. LaPlante.
Yes.
Abstain, sorry. Yeah. Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Yes, and Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
So that motion will carry 7-0-1. All right, with that, we're going to move into town business. For those of you following along at home, this starts our fun weekly process of both the town and the school budgets. We begin tonight with reviews of the town budget that the departments and the town and the Board of Selectmen have been working on for the last several weeks. We've got a handful of departments that we'll review tonight. tonight is simply presentation, opportunities for us to ask questions, and these meetings will continue over the next 3 weeks before we move into voting on the town budget. Okay? And with that, I am going to turn it over to Ms. Kleiner before we get started on our specific budgets that we're reviewing tonight. One thing I'll add, Ms. Kleiner did share via email, you all should have in your email, a link to the slides tonight. Because we have the WebEx going, we're unable to get the slides pulled up on the TV in here. So you should have just, oh, sorry, that came from Ms. White. You should have an email that came from Ms. White that has the slides. And so you can follow along that way, along with the budget, which was sent over via Google Sheets. So with that, turn it over to Ms. Kleiner. Ms. White.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So here we are again, so soon. Seems like we just finished the 2024. We started the 2025 at the ask of the selectmen back at the end of June. So we started preparing things, putting things together, Karen sending out information to all of the directors. We met several times as a leadership group and discussed the struggles that we were having. And so we were not surprised when we came in way over the cap. We had a lot of difficulty. Some difficulty was created from the cuts that were made last year that created some struggles this year. Police vehicles being one. A police officer that returned to the town this year being another. You'll see highway overtime is another example. So we had some struggles, and what we decided was that we were going to present a budget to the Board of Selectmen of our needs. We were going to give them everything and anything that we felt was what needed to be presented to move the town forward. And then after that, the selectmen asked us for a number of recommended cuts. And we met over a week ago tonight. And the selectmen made a number of changes. So the average percent, the tax cap is about $255,000. That's a struggle. We came in at 8,651,000 roughly, about 700 roughly over the 2024 budget, counting the approved warrant articles. And why the improved warrant articles is important is because you have that highway lease vehicle. So that's an amount that will be in this budget, but it was actually approved by the voters last spring. So some of our significant challenges were regulatory requirements. And one example of that is our website. So the federal government passed Title II, requiring that all governmental websites are brought up to ADA compliance. The selectmen, being very forward-thinking, thought about this last year when we had some extra money. We approached Civic Plus, and we got half off if we signed up last year, which, even though the team was very constrained in what time we could physically spend on it, it was worth the savings. So we signed up for that. But that's a regulatory requirement. Another regulatory requirement is our MS4 permit. And Road Agent Brown will speak to some of that. Then we had increases in contracts. We had equipment and vehicle needs. And we had a personnel plan update that hit last January. So we've tried as much as possible to put links to various spreadsheets and information on the tab that's called Economics. And if there's anything that we haven't provided there, please let us know and we will put it there.
Okay. Thank you.
So where we moved to with the selectmen proposed is the selectmen reduced it up about 188,000.
And this is, just for reference, this is slide 3, everyone, on the presentation.
Some of the cuts that they made are listed here, fire, per diem hours, transfer station. We moved some operating costs to the recycling revolving fund. We also moved some training, they moved some training hours to the regular wages line. Litchfield Police Department removed one vehicle. They had 3, they removed 1. And then we reduced the captain's overtime, and some software support was reduced practically in half. Code enforcement, we are able to purchase some books, so we are able to cut that line. And all of these changes here are in the spreadsheet, the budget spreadsheet, on a tab, Selectmen Reductions. So you can go back and view them. We've got all of our detail there. Information technology had some reductions. The Board of Selectmen, we had created a couple new lines specifically related to boards and commissions, some training, and some supplies that we found we didn't have in the budget, and the selectmen reduced those in half. And then zoning, public notices, we are able to reduce according to trend, and road maintenance reduced their sand line. And then you'll see, oh, well, there we are. There is a number of items totaling about $76,000 that we were able to isolate out of the 2025 proposed budget, because we can spend the 2024 funds that we have available on those, so that reduces it an additional 76. So all in all, about 188,000, still not under the cap.
Thank you. Thank you for the high-level overview of the work of the departments and the directors, the town, the Board of Selectmen. We appreciate that. Any high-level questions? And I know we're going to have questions about specific budgets. I guess any high-level questions on the process or anything that Ms. Kleiner has shared thus far?
So you mentioned that you spent forward some money from this year, right? So this year you're spending it forward. Those are one-time expenses, or are those things that are going to be coming up? Like we covered them this year, but they're going to come back next year. Like, are they annual, regular expenses? Do we actually gain anything, or are we just kicking the can?
So one of the expenses is a new software that was put into the police department. And so it will be in next year's budget, but because we had so many installation and we've been working through this, both Director Brunel and the police chief felt we could pay this one-time cost, this contracted cost, now, and continue to work through the transformation from one system to another. But yes, they are not one-time costs.
Is that the 56,000?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Any other high-level questions before we get into specific departments? Okay. Ms. Kleiner, do we just want to go through the list as laid out, starting with town meeting to town clerk to tax collection, and kind of work that way?
That is the way that we put the slides in order.
Perfect. Good evening.
Hi.
Let me just find my right tab here. All right, so we are starting with 4130.30 town meeting. Floor's yours.
So, there's a decrease in this due to, this year we had 4 elections, next year we only have 1. Thank God. The only thing in here that we increased was the down under supplies. We have poll books, which I think is going to benefit the town. If you go down towards the bottom there, it says poll books. The state is giving us a grant of $7,000. The poll books, what it is instead of people coming in and checking in with ballot clerks, they will check in on an iPad with their licenses. So it kind of eliminates the amount of people that we have to pay. It eliminates the cost of the food that we buy. So it's, in the long run, it's going to kind of level itself out. Like I said, we get a $7,000 grant for the old machines that we have. They'll give us $3,500 for each machine. So that's where the $7,000 comes in. The poll books, to get 5 poll books, it's $10,225. So the difference is what I put in the budget. But like I said, in the long run, we're definitely gonna get that back. And I think that's the only increase in this budget.
Is that a one-time cost, or is that?
It's a one-time cost. We'll have maintenance probably on them. I don't even know I don't even know after the first year what. The first year is included, and I think it's the same thing as what the machines are. What we pay for our machines, once we get our new machines in March.
Okay. Questions on 4130.30 town meeting?
Sorry, is the poll books mandated? Is it something that all towns have to move to? I'm not saying it's not a good idea, it is a
No,
good idea.
they are not mandated.
Okay.
No. Nope, but where they're giving us, either we lose the $7,000 grant or we use it for this. But no, they are not mandated.
Any anticipated sensitivity around voter registration issues?
No, because you're still
New
gonna
system?
they still have to come in, they still have to register to vote with the checklist supervisors. They will not be using these to register to vote. They will register to vote with the actual checklist supervisors. These are going to be to check in. So the checklist supervisors will have one to load the information in. There'll be 3. So when people come in, instead of getting into the line where you're A through
yeah.
whatever, you're not gonna do that anymore. You're actually just gonna get into a line where the poll book is, no particular line, and you're just gonna check in. You'll just go right up and check in. There will be someone there, it'll print out a ticket for you. You'll get your ticket, and you will still have to get a ballot from an individual.
Okay.
So it cuts down the number of people that we have to use. And then, when we do the moderator also has to have a poll book, because he'll have to do the absentee ballots with the poll book as well.
And I'm assuming
That's why
there's,
this added
I'm assuming there's quality checks where people can only get one ticket. You can't like go back in line and get another
You
ticket.
cannot go back and get it.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 ticket per person, because you
I
can't
can
go
already see
back up to
the
that
trouble
poll
this will
book.
cause.
No, I think it's a great thing, like, you have to have an ID, and.
Right.
So,
And, you know, we do have people that don't wanna show their ID. They, will have to see the moderator. They cannot just go up to the poll book and, because they don't wanna show their ID.
you know, like, yes, here's my ID.
Right, You know what I mean? It'll save on the lines, it'll save on, waiting in the line.
Well, as an A to D who stands there forever, I very much enjoy the fact that my line might move a little quick, I won't have to wait in line anymore.
You don't have that line anymore, you can just go into any
Digital
line.
ID at the
and
airports now, retina
pass right
scans.
through.
Other questions for Ms. Briand on the town meeting?
When does the grant expire?
I believe we have 2 years to use it,
Starting,
starting this year.
Any other questions on town meeting? All right, we'll continue right on.
So with that,
Yep, go ahead.
just the answer is to go a little bit further into your question. The reason why, the other thing is, remember next year, we only have one election. The year after that, we have 2 elections. Then we go back to, so each year, the elections, that's why with this year, I put it in here because we only have the one election. Where we're decreasing this budget as it is, you're not gonna
Understood.
see it, whereas the year after that, we have 2 elections and then it keeps going.
So is this, I guess that comes to another question then. So do we pay this amount per election, or it's one time?
One time.
One time, right?
One
you
time,
can
and that's
use
why I put it
for
in this
elections.
budget.
To offset the
because-
other elections.
To offset where we only have the one election next year, and if we're gonna put it in there, it's not gonna hurt as bad with the $2,225, it's not gonna hurt as much in this budget, where we're decreasing the budget so much from a 4-year to a 1-year. And then we're gonna go back up to a 2-year election, so it'll increase again the following year.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, any final questions on town meeting? All right, let's move to town clerk, 4140.10. Thank you, Kevin. And it looks like this one is currently 150, no, I'm sorry. It's down by $3,400 from last year.
And this is a decrease due to the retirement of somebody that was in the office for many years. So this is a decrease there. And we also decreased the overtime line, because we weren't using the overtime in that line.
Okay. Questions on 4140.10 town clerk? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to tax collection, 4150.40. Floor is still yours, Miss Briand.
Same thing on this one, the decrease is due to the retirement. And other than that, we really don't have any other increases on this. Everything else kind of stayed the same. There was a little bit of increase in the postage, but that's only because postage went up again.
Are all these insurance rates accurate, or they still need to be updated?
Great question. The insurance rates are not accurate. Either Health Plus, Primex. I was at the Health Plus public hearing this afternoon. We do expect an increase. I can tell you what they told us. Average 9.8%. The range, depending upon the municipality, is from 3% to 18%. So we'll hope for the best and hope for the lower.
So the numbers that are in the budget that make up kind of that overall tax cap, that's just level from last year, right? Or does that contain an increase already in your budget?
No.
So Karen updated the census, the number of individuals based on what plan they chose.
Yep.
But the rate of that plan is the same as
Same.
2024.
So the bust is even higher.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
That's why I'm asking.
Especially if the average is 9.8, Karen and I were just talking about it, we probably think we're probably up to 9, 10, 12.
Do we know,
So if we're up 10, let's just say it's 10%, just for figures, how much will that increase the budget? Over last year, so the insurance was last year to this year.
So last year it was 14 and a half, and it was about 120.
I was gonna say about 100 grand,
So,
maybe a
yeah.
little less than that, but that's ballpark.
Yay,
That's if it comes in at 10%.
that's it, yeah.
not 18.
Yeah.
So, if I can just ask a question, the rates come out, is that because it's like their fiscal year? I guess I never asked this question, because the same thing with the school.
Yeah.
It's for municipalities, why don't they like do it knowing everyone in the world is doing their budget?
So Health
Have a
Trust
different
has,
cutoff date.
they are in the middle of a couple changes. So one of the changes that they're discussing is having everyone move to a June through July so that people have their rates in August is what they are thinking. They're actually talking about changing their year, which would be great for us, we would love it. There are some municipalities and some school districts that work on a July to June, and then there's others like us that work on a calendar year. I will tell you, they raised, so they have a reserve, right, and the reserve is for those claims, should they have an awful year and their premiums don't meet the claims. They have to have a reserve by law. And so they estimated last year for that reserve to be 90 million. They just increased it, their board of directors met in May and increased it to 122.5 based on the cost of medical services and the claims that they've experienced since COVID.
Is that the biggest thing driving these rate increases?
Yes, adding to the reserve. And so they want the 122.5 million by 2028.
I know we ask this question too every year, considering we're planning on starting to vote at our October 17th meeting. Do we know if those rates will we know our rate by then?
October 16th.
Great timing.
That's, honestly, that's, what, 2 months ahead of where we used to get it?
I know.
Yes.
We used to get it mid-December. Like, oh, guess what, you're voting, but, hold on a second, so October is a,
Great timing. Perfect.
it's a huge improvement, so we're moving in the right direction.
Thank you. Any other questions on 4150.40 tax collection? Okay. Seeing none. Thank you, Terry. All right, we will move to sanitation administration, 4321.10. Good evening, Mr. Mellon.
2-0.
Good night, Terry. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mellon's here, and we're gonna go through it. We worked, actually, all three of us worked on this budget together. Electricity, you're gonna find a common theme throughout all of the departments, right? Same if you are an Eversource, same letters you all got at home. There are two sets of increases. There's one this August and then there's another next August. So electricity across all departments is an increase.
Can I ask a clarifying question real quick, just high level? So on your slide, you show an increase of 28,757. It looks like in the spreadsheet, it's an increase of 32,604. I just wanted to,
Yeah, I have that in the spreadsheet.
I just wanted to verify which one was correct. I'm assuming the spreadsheet's correct because it's summing up the dollar amounts from those
okay.
increases.
I believe I know what it is, but I'm gonna look at it first. So you're going to see a number of increases. What we're going through and what you see on the slide is dollars that we had active control over. The increase that you see within the town budget, also includes the increases to the wages. So that should be your difference, because we're not talking about those here on our slides. Back in January,
I don't think that adds, it looks like the wages are an increase of 13,586. And the difference between what's on the slide and what's in the budget is about $4,000, $3,800. Which means it might, and,
it's not the 4250?
oh, it could be, I don't know if my math's correct. I didn't mean to sidetrack your presentation. I just wanted to.
So the difference is the 32,604 less the 3847 that the selectmen reduced it.
Got it.
Gets you to the 28,757.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I see that now. Okay, got it.
But I do wanna point out, we're not talking about the increases in any of the wages, and that is not to, overshadow that. But there was a very extensive update to the personnel plan back last January, which involved rewriting of all of the job descriptions. It was a project that took all of the directors 9 months to complete. And we actually were asked to present it at the NHMA conference last year because we did such an extensive salary study. So kudos to all the directors for that. So I just don't want it to seem like I'm bypassing that. So that's electricity. It's a common trend throughout the budget. Line 693, demolition material, C&D. Both the C&D and the MSW are based on trend, which Mr. Mellon performs, and then calculates against the current rates. So C&D being more your, they call it construction and demolition, but your bedding, your furniture, your decking, your wood, your plastic chairs, things of that sort. MSW being your normal, everyday trash.
3% increase in waste management. That's good.
Did everyone? Not sure everyone heard that. 3% increase in the MSW.
Yeah,
Okay.
per contract.
And then line 695 was direct disposal. And so that was reduced by the Board of Selectmen, and it's gonna be charged to the recycle revolving fund. We did include here, because we knew last year we were asked what the balance of that revolving fund is, which is about $44,000.
I just requested access to that file. You may have to share that with the full committee. The revolving fund spreadsheet.
Certainly. See if it went to you. Thank you. And so the recycling revolving fund has stayed pretty consistent. If you look at it, it was about 40,000 at the end of last year. It's about 44,000. The revenue and the expenses pretty much even out, and we've stayed pretty much even keel on that. And so that is it for us, Mr. Mellon. Do you have any questions?
Questions for Mr. Mellon or Ms. Kleiner on 4321 sanitation?
How old is the skid steer now?
Excuse me?
The skid steer?
It's 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll
Is
be
it still
6. it'll be-
warranted or not anymore? Is it?
It's warranted up to 5 years, yeah.
Okay, so it's
That,
coming
that
out.
will expire in, I believe, February.
Okay.
That's a bumper-to-bumper warranty too, I got. So, everything.
Still working okay, though?
Yeah, actually, it's the best one I've had
All right.
so far.
Just, I'm reflecting on past conversations, right? And key pieces of equipment for the
Just make
department.
sure everything gets covered right before the warranty expires.
If you haven't had a tour, best tour. Transfer
Well,
station,
thank you.
transfer station
You
and
never
the
seen-
highway garage.
You never told me that before, thank you.
Notice how she just kinda threw you in there, Kevin.
Yeah, she did.
Well, I was there, Andrew's been there twice.
Been there multiple times,
You
yeah.
have, yes, you have.
Additional questions for sanitation?
Not so much on expenditures, but on maybe revenue generation. For larger ticket items, certain things, the townsfolk have to pay to dispose of in the dumpster C&D. Are we missing an opportunity there? Maybe extending what would cost a person to dump something in the dumpster of significance to generate some more revenue?
I think we did that with the fees. I tried to target the items that were, replaced, in a long span, like your toilets, your roofing, your furniture and things like that, that had a long life cycle. I didn't wanna target things that were, replaced every 3 or 4 years. So that's what I did with that, and I took a survey of all the surrounding towns, and I also took a survey of all the towns that had the same population as us, and I matched our fees with their fees, and I went to the low end of that.
I know, Ms. Kleiner, they're in the spreadsheet tonight, Mr. LaPlante, I think as a follow-up to that. If you go to that economics tab that Ms. Kleiner referenced early on,
Yep.
line 24 has a link to new town fees adopted May 13th, 2024. And at the bottom of that page, page 5 and top of page 6, shows the new fees that were approved that Mr. Mellon was referring to.
Okay.
Which if memory serves correctly, most of those went up from what they previously were, right?
They all went, except for one.
Yeah.
They all went up, yeah.
Do we have an idea of are we generating a lot more revenue?
Yeah.
Okay. So the revenue though will appear on the revenue sheet.
And so Ms. White and I have gone through, and updated some of the revenues. There have been very little complaints that we have heard, since June 1st, adoption.
That's because I didn't call you. I was not pleased.
There really haven't. I mean, I expected them from the building department more than anything, because a lot of those fees changed in the way that they're being calculated. So they're very different from what they were. And so we made a conscious effort, the new building inspector and Donna and I, and we said, let's record feedback that we get, because we should know that. But I think we all agreed that the fees needed to be looked at when we met last year, that it had been a number of years since they had been increased. We did present the board with a list of municipalities for all departments, building included, and we really tried to gauge the fees to what's being charged in this area for the same services, so.
Other questions for sanitation administration this evening? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Mellon. And we will move to road agent 4311.10.
Hi, everyone.
Mr. Brown. Let's see, 4311.10, the road agent, and good job, Kevin, it is down $1.
So, increase for road agent, $500 for my stipend, because I'm doing such a bang-up job. It's a joke.
Oh, sorry. It's up $86. My apologies. I misspoke. I was looking at the wrong column there.
And then the other two are the uncontrolled propane and electricity, which town administrator has already responded to.
Propane's down. So the school district got a updated contract. We have generally piggybacked off of each other. So before Mr. Totten left, he had negotiated, they gave us a phone call, and again, we piggybacked down 225 to 195, so you'll see that decrease. Unfortunately, it doesn't offset the electricity increase, but
Sorry, I didn't catch on the electricity. What is the rate that we're projecting for increase next year? What percentage?
so it's different for indoor versus outdoor, it's just a little different. So 5.52 for this August.
Okay.
And then there's another increase next, August. So it's a two-tiered increase. And then and I believe I put the spreadsheet in.
Yeah. Is that the 12.28?
For the outdoor.
Oh, that's outdoor. Okay. Got it.
And so it was very difficult, and thank you to Heather, our accountant. Each town account received a very different, split rate for the August to August, so Heather, calculated it all out and estimated it, for us, and I believe I put that in the economics. If I didn't, I will.
It looks like it's linked off the electricity line item itself, because it has the Eversource proposed.
Yes, okay, so that's, I did put it in. Which is very different, it's different than the residential letters that you would have received.
Questions for 4311.10 road agent?
I guess when we get to electricity, well, we should have the conversation about whether or not they're moving forward, or have we looked at the community one?
We have.
And still not a viable option?
No, and unfortunately, we've missed the window, for the fall. So, they were unable to, there's 17 of us, 17 communities waiting. But we are unable to, get an RFP, rate that would be, kind of consistent or, beneficial compared to Eversource. So we'll look at it this spring. There is no time frame, so once you are approved by the PUC, you could wait and go out RFP for numerous number of time until you get a rate that the board settles on.
Anything else for road agent this evening? We'll move to road maintenance, 4312.10.
All right, this is where it gets sticky. So I'd just like to preface this with, last year, I came in with a zero budget, basically, other than unanticipated increases from payroll and healthcare. And because of the 5% cap, we were cut $8,000 from basically our bottom line. So this year, we're coming in, we're higher, and I guess the truck lease would be the majority of that. 29,567 out of the 58,170. Our overtime, just like anything, it's out of control. It's out of our control, not out of control. It's out of our control. We go out when we're called by PD or fire. There's a tree down, a car accident, snow plowing. Excuse me. Line 572 and 578, street sweeping and catch basin cleanouts. Because of the MS4 permit, we now have to sweep the MS4 area twice a year, and we have to clean the catch basin, we have to measure and clean catch basins that are over 50% full. We did the MS4 area this year, and I'm kind of hoping going into next year, we'll measure, we won't have to do more than 50% of that area, and we can move out into the town and get some more of the ones that are in the MS4 area. But as of right now, with the budget, I have enough money to get the MS4 area. We have enough money in the budget for the street sweeping to do it once a year. The MS4 permit is calling for it twice a year within the MS4 area. We swept the MS4 area in a little bit more, maybe 1/3 of the town with what we have, so we're asking for more money for that. Equipment repairs were just up, it's just based on a 3-year average, not a considerable amount, but they were up. Our salt decreased because of the cost, went from $76.90 to $75.90. We're still balancing out on 1,800 ton. I'm hoping that we use less, but that's one of those things, do we roll the dice, do we cut that and roll the dice? Or do we go on the 3-year average? I guess that's about it.
Questions on road maintenance this evening?
I do have one.
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
One for Mr. Brown as far as the salt is concerned. So, Kevin, are you currently using a estimate based on last year, or are you using a 3-year average right now?
Estimate,
1-year average or a 3-year average, what do you use for salt consumption?
So 3-year average.
3 years.
Yeah. it's
3 years, Mr. Taylor.
That should be in the budget. It'll show you year to year.
Yeah, additional questions on road maintenance?
Yeah, just one other question on the basic cleanup. Is there any possibility that there could be end of year fund utilized to do some of these cleanouts, especially some of the ones that are like 40-45%, so that they do it next year?
I think what I heard him say was,
The issue with that is it has to be within the calendar year of the MS4 permit. So I could clean them all right now, and I'll still have to clean them again, or at least test them and clean what is over 50% next year. So every year we need to perform this. This isn't, we can't get ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much.
thank you, Mr.
I wish
Taylor.
we could, because, I did decrease the sand line. I didn't delete it completely, but we are moving over to a salt catalyst. It's a molasses-based spray that we put on the salt, which activates the salt, colder temperatures, keeps it from bouncing as much. So I'm hoping to reduce salt volume with that and use less sand, because we use the sand when the temperatures get below the point where salt works. This new catalyst we spray on the salt at that time should keep that salt working at the real, below 19 degrees. So we're doing what we can to reduce.
Should there be a decrease in sand? 'Cause I don't see one.
Yeah, we have, did you put that in?
Yeah, 2750.
Yeah, 2750.
685 line, Andrew?
I'm looking at 24 approved versus 25 department approved at $5,500. What am I looking at? Oh, because the selectmen proposed.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
that's the difference, okay.
Yeah.
So, by my calculations, I'm up 6.3%.
With half of that being the cost of the lease.
Oh, the truck lease, yeah, the truck lease, yeah.
The MS4 permit that requires you to clean out the catch basins twice a year, do you have to?
No, we have to sweep the roads within the MS4 area twice a year.
Twice a year, okay.
We have to clean the catch basins, so we have to stick the catch basins and see how full they are.
Yeah,
And if they're above 50% full, we need to clean them.
gotcha.
And we did the MS4 area this year. I'll tell you right now, I'm hoping to go in and hit them all and not have to do any of them. But that doesn't work.
Yeah,
If we're at 50%, we'll be in a good position. We might have to do them all. We won't know until the spring when we stick them again.
do you have data on that year over year, like how many you're cleaning typically? You do?
Absolutely. We did 300 and,
So he's not going to tell you, but last year we received a grant, $30,000 from New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services to create a stormwater asset management system. And Mr. Brown and his staff went out there and they collected data on everything,
Yeah.
all of our assets, within the MS4 area. And it's loaded into a GIS system so that they can perform analysis and have the data. It's great, it created the MS, so we partner in this way. The report, my office helps put together the report with help of a consultant, and they perform all the actual hard work. And we put together that report this year within a week, and it was off to the EPA because of this system. So they did a lot of work to create this asset management system, all on grant money.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's good data year after year, right? I mean, if you know you're cleaning them, you got so many years maybe or months before you have to go back and hit them
They
again.
go out with the tablet, they go out to a catch basin, they stick it, it's already GPS coordinated, they stick it, and they go in and they put an inspection in, and it tells you right then and there the depth of the catch basin, because we've measured at the beginning,
Yeah.
where you are, and then we can add that in. And then when we call a contractor in to come do a catch bases, we can go from one to, we don't have to do one after another, we can jump around to the catch basins that need it.
Yeah, you've already hit them all, so you know exactly, it's one day they're there, they're cleaning it, or however many days.
You can cut back, absolutely, and, we went to a clamshell, because it's, $45 a catch basin rather than a vac truck,
Vac
because
truck.
that's, $160 an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and, this software will definitely help us out, get ahead of that.
Yeah.
And I hate the idea that we're just, we're working on this MS4 area. We're not taking care of the south and the north that aren't in the MS4. And we just got a report that the MS4 area will be increasing by about a third, farther into the north. So that's just going to get worse.
With the next permit,
The next
Gonna
permit,
make us
yeah.
more,
which
yeah.
we're hoping there's a lot of comments on, it'll
Yeah.
delay that permit.
And so maybe some federal money to help us out. I don't know, but it's all on us as of now.
And by sweeping twice, do you think that's gonna reduce the amount of,
That's the intent.
right, I
So
mean,
you do it in the spring, so you pick up all your road debris, sand, leaves and such, and you do it in the fall. I don't know when exactly would be the best time, after the leaves fall, possibly, but, that's the best time, I would say.
yeah.
But I don't have the money to sweep this year in the fall, so we only did it once this year.
Mm.
That's what the increase we're asking for, is so we can do a two-year sweep, a year sweep.
Additional,
We do expect additional, costs because of the MS4 permit. And so we've gotten some costs together, which we'll share with the selectmen for a possible warrant article. There are other requirements of the MS4 permit that we have not been able to get to. They are out of the kind of the scope of our normal staff. These would require engineering help, so that will be a warrant article that we'll be proposing.
So is the road sweeping a contracted service, or is it something we do in-house?
Contracted.
Okay.
We couldn't afford a sweeper.
So we know for a fact that it would be 12/8 to do what you need to do.
Yes, $6,500 per sweep, approximately.
Yeah, you'll be fixing that thing every other week,
Oh, yeah, it's
maintenance
terrible,
wise.
yeah.
Well, it's just not linked to a contract, so, all right, thanks.
Yeah, and so isn't the catch basin cleaning. I priced out a catch basin, a clamshell setup, and it's $199,000. So it'll take a long time for us to pay that off.
any other questions for road maintenance this evening? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Brown. Let's move to street lighting, 4316.30. This one is down $2,105 from last
And so
year.
we'll give a huge thank you to the former TA, Troy Brown, and it's a continuous decrease due to the LED conversion that you did prior to my coming.
Questions on street lighting?
Are we gonna be getting Are the number of streetlights increasing at all as a result of all the town work that's going on? Or the expansion in town?
That's a good question.
We're not seeing any new lights.
So Rose Meadows is private, it's a private road.
I don't know of any streetlights.
No.
That's,
I
that's a good answer.
Yeah, I don't know,
Just more
because I would
fire
think that
hydrants.
we would have to approve anything that we're gonna pay for, and I don't.
Yeah, Talarico doesn't have any,
No,
no.
yeah.
Sweet.
Okay. All right, if nothing else for street lighting, we'll go to accounting, 4150.10.
So my total increase is $11,004, mostly wages, and then my other biggest one is auditing services, an increase of $500.
Increases, auditing services, okay. Questions on 415010 accounting?
So,
This is-
are we gonna discuss at some point the new wage schedule? Cause these are some significant increases that we're seeing. And I was curious as to what the conversation is, because I know most people aren't seeing at home wage increases on this order, so how we arrived at the numbers we did.
Certainly. So, in the personnel plan, which is linked to the economic tab, you'll find the new personnel policy. At the end of that is all the new wage scales. If anyone is interested in looking at any of the data that we put together, I have 3 ring binders in my office, more than happy to share. This was originally presented last June?
So,
June last.
2022. Right. Yeah. And so, we had prepared all the job descriptions, updated them for what was really being done. They, were significantly old. And then we put out a salary survey and we gathered information from towns in New Hampshire. And then we ranked them according to what was being done in those job descriptions and our job descriptions. Significantly, the town was low. So some did not get updated to where they should be. We are asked by the board to look at it again every 3 years. So we'll be looking at it again next year and updating the survey and updating the wage scale.
So we updated the wage scales without, so my understanding is in the past, when we updated, especially this significantly, the taxpayers were asked for on like a 3-year plan, do we wish to increase the salary amount by a certain amount? Like it was actually a warrant article. So now we just implemented this without any vote? Because when we were talking 11%, greater than 10% increases on some of these salaries. And so,
A few of them, if you're looking at accounting, there was actually a promotion there. So there was, I mean, they're not all the same and
No,
not
but-
everyone increased the same amount of money.
no, but there's a 5%, I just looked at 11.1, there's another 10. So we're not talking small numbers. And these aren't union positions. So there's no contract associated with this. So in the past, when we've significantly updated our schedule, it actually went to the voters. So now we bypass that, and that makes me uncomfortable.
So the first year of the increase was of no cost to the taxpayers because it was actually money that was returned to the town from New Hampshire retirement, specifically related to these workers. So there was no cost to the selectmen's initial approval. The unaffiliated employees, as I have been directed by legal counsel, is under the purview of the selectmen.
So I would point everyone to something Ms. Kleiner said earlier. If you go to the economics tab on the budget spreadsheet, if you go down to row 39 on that economics tab, there is a link to the Town of Litchfield Personnel Plan. It's a PDF file. If you scroll down all the way to the bottom pages, if you're looking for the dollars and cents, starting with page 56, 57.
No, I appreciate that. It's just
58.
we've committed taxpayers to monies that they didn't authorize. And that's the problem. That's where I have a concern with it. And people vote on the contracts for the various unions, and now we've said, well, this group doesn't have to go. So if voters get a say on everything else, they were denied their right to vote on this one, and that just makes me uncomfortable. And if we're gonna be equal across the board and treat everybody fairly, I'd be railing at the school for doing it. And since some people think I'm not fair towards the town, then laying it all evenly, this was not done, in my opinion, was not implemented in the correct manner. And we've put taxpayers on the hook for a substantial increase they never authorized. And when we're talking about being significantly over budget to begin with, I'm not sure it would have been approved. So I understand why you did it, especially given the market, but it makes me very uncomfortable.
If you hadn't raised these employees with the 2 years of back-to-back health costs, they would have been earning less.
But we're in a situation now where we're several $100,000 over budget, so some of them might be earning a lot less because some increases may result in losses. So but again, my ultimate thing is, we put the taxpayers on the hook for salary increases, which also affect retirement costs. So this is a substantial burden to the taxpayers they never agreed to.
Your concern is more about the process than
Well, the process, and like I said, we're substantially over the tax cap. Like, we increased our need for revenue in excess of our tax cap without ever having a way to fund it. So,
Other comments, questions, thoughts on 415010 accounting or this particular topic?
that's it for me.
Okay. All right, if nothing else on accounting, we will move to revaluation of property, 415210.
So this has a significant increase.
415040.
And this is due to a contract
Revaluation, sorry.
that the town has entered into with George Sansucci LLC, for a number of reasons. But I'll start first with the revaluation. Mr. Sansucci's firm deals with revaluation of utilities. Back in 2019, the New Hampshire State House passed House Bill 700. House Bill 700 required utilities to be revaluated in a different manner over a 5-year period. So in the table that you see beneath you, you can see from 2021 how the valuation for utilities has decreased. The 2024 number, which is the same as the 2023 number, has not been finalized yet, so that's why it's the same. The importance here is that you need an expert who is specifically trained in House Bill 700 and utility work. And Sansucci is the expert for the state of New Hampshire, if not across the country. This is important because if you undervaluate your utilities, it's a cost to the taxpayer, right? So then the burden, the shift of the tax goes from the utilities to the taxpayers. So we want to make sure that these valuations are correct and that for 2024, which is the final year of the 5-year shift, that's what you're going to use going forward, using as your base, that is correct. So Mr. Sansucci's firm has been down here actually visiting all of the properties that have utilities. Whether it's Pennachuck, whether it's Eversource, Liberty, actually looking at the structures. They've been evaluating all of our plans, and they have also been diving into the PUC case with Pennachuck, that we're actively in. The second part of, and so to kind of jump on this before, you did have Avatar doing the utility work. Their utility expert retired. So we needed someone to look at these utilities and make sure that they were correct. The second part of Mr. Sansucci is the eminent domain expert across the country. And he actually had a lot to do with writing the law in the state of New Hampshire. So we've asked him to look at Pennachuck for us, should that be a move that the town decides to go in. We'll need that expertise and we'll need that valuation that only he can perform.
Can I ask you a question about the contract? This is if I'm reading this correctly, this is a 5-year contract, and this is an annual. The 33.5 is an annual cost per year, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And in that cost includes the valuation, which is the revaluation, which will be performed next year.
And so will
So it's split out.
will the contract so we won't have a new contract with Avatar starting in next year's budget?
We will, so the contract with the Avatar is gonna have to be looked at after the revaluation, because the revaluation is included in the Avatar contract currently. Revaluation, which occurs in 2025, right?
Right.
My suggestion would be that we look at an RFP and because they're not actively doing the utility.
Right, so there should be
portion.
savings then.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So if we pull that scope out, and then, so there should eventually be some bit of an offset.
This is the 1 year where there would be an overlap.
Yes.
25.
Well, in the Avatar contract, I just saw it, it's page 4, utility work, it says that it's billed in addition to.
It is.
So the Avatar contract that we're in through 2025, while it states utility work, it's actually billed in addition to what we're paying that contract for.
Well, I mean, we paid 52,000 in 2020, so I'm assuming that had something to do with it.
There was some cost of utilities, very small, minor costs. But the other piece to this is if the town is going to move forward with an eminent domain on Pennachuck, you need the work of Mr. Sansucci in order to do that.
And would that work be included in this 33.5, or would that be an additional cost?
That valuation of Pennachuck is in that cost.
Right, because you'd have to know how much we're seeking to take ownership of.
Other questions on 415210?
Is the 5%, so is the Avatar, the assessing software, looks like there's a 5% estimate, so do we not have a hard number on that one?
No. No.
Anything else on 415210? All right, move to Board of Selectmen, 4130.10.
The largest line is line 342, which is the website. So as you can see in the table that I provided in the slides, year one, list price, which is design of your new website, is normally in the 50s. We got design and implementation, work and training with our whole team and year one for 29. That was paid with, excess funds that we had in 2023. We had funds remaining in the budget, and so the selectmen approved to move forward with that. We have gotten quite a few residents that have sent compliments on the website, and we think that it will do a lot for transparency and being able to communicate with our residents, but over and all, it's now ADA compliant, which is the law.
So what's the ongoing cost of this?
So the ongoing cost is 22 for year two. There is a 5% uplift starting in year three. With the website, we did get C-Click Fix, which is another software tool which Director Brunel and I are working on. That's more of a reporting tool, so that you can actually create forms that, you know, residents can report potholes or whatever it may be. So that was kind of the second part of the implementation. Obviously, it took quite a bit of time to get the website up and get that launched. And then there's Civics Engage, which is kind of like your code red. So that's part of this package. So going forward, we won't have the code red. The only downfall with that, we had to finish the code red out for this year, and code red won't share data. So we have to get our residents' data again and have them actually sign up for the Civics Engage. Unfortunately, we can't transfer that data over, but we have asked people to go onto the website and to sign up. But I think it's gonna be an ongoing process. Not everyone's.
Is that how I'll get my, my bill for my car? Is that registration?
No, but it will be how you'll get like emergency updates from the town. You can actually sign up there, and when there's an agenda or a meeting, or you get notified, and it will say, planning board meeting, you know, tonight, here's the agenda. So, it's a useful tool. If anyone wants the cheat sheet, let us know. We'll send it over to you. It's not that hard to do. I've walked a couple residents through it. And you get to choose what you want.
Oh, good.
It's like a
Let's
menu
see.
selection.
All or nothing.
Might not want to know about the planning board, but you might want to know about zoning. Yeah.
Could you speak to line 620 office supplies? I know the looks like the Board of Selectmen cut that in half, but that's a new line item as of this year?
It is. So there's been quite a bit of work that has been done by the Energy Committee. That required actually getting information out to the public, which required, you know, printing costs, different supplies and things like that. The Economic Development Committee did a survey, and then they also did a public session, a focus group session, and so there were supplies and things that were needed for that. And so what we found was, with Heritage, it was a sign, right? They needed signs to be able to put up for property saying there would be a public hearing, which is required by the ordinance. What we realized was there was no line item.
Where were those coming from previously? Were they coming out of like?
The office supplies for general town hall, which was getting large. And so we thought it would be better for us to be able to track it and actually know the dollars that are being spent for items outside of the normal everyday use, which is why we put it there. The selectmen, thought we had, put too much considering with the tax cap, and they lowered it. But that will be specifically supplies that are used by boards, commissions, non-town departments.
Thank you. Other
And
question? Oh, go
The
ahead.
same with 811. That's training for boards and commissions. Again, we did not have a line for boards and commissions. We had quite a few new board members, that needed to do planning, training. We had some do the right to know training, and then there was another one that we had. And, they're not large dollar amounts for those webinars and, those training sessions, but, they can run $100. And so we wanted to be able to do the right thing. You volunteered your time, the least we can do is offer you the training. And so that is specifically for board and commission members.
Thank you. Other questions on 4130.10? Okay. We'll move to legal expenses, 4153.10.
So that is an increase. That increase is specifically due to the pending PUC case with Pennachuck Water. So Laura Spector Morgan, our counsel, and I have been working on this since February. And that, if you look at the chart behind you, we kind of broke it out to give you an idea of what the cost has been. And for the PUC case so far, we're at about $5,000. I do not see that case wrapping up in the next. And that is a rate case.
Questions on legal services? Legal expenses? Okay. Welfare vendor payments, 445.2.
So this is an area that we have been struggling with. We have had a number of residents, both increasing housing costs. We've seen increases in rentals across town that has caused significant issues to some of our residents, as well as increase in electric costs. It was new state law that requires us
And just
to
for
take action.
just for clarification, this is a trust fund, it has a balance of $20,843, and the budget is just a placeholder of $1? Am I looking at that correctly?
So the 17,335 that you see, that's what we've spent for 2024.
Out of the trust fund?
In our normal operating budget, and then it would be transferred from the trust fund.
Got it.
Yes, if you look in the budget reports you would see that.
Questions on vendor payments? Okay. Patriotic purposes, 4583.10. No change? Pretty straightforward. Questions on patriotic? right, debt service, 4711.10. Sorry, is that, I show that tab as 472310.
Is the account number wrong on the slide?
Well,
There's multiple debts. There's 471110, 4721,
it's 01-47, because you've got a couple different ones.
So the one I'm looking at is
4311.
40, I don't see 4711 on here.
That should be
4311.
On the worksheet itself.
It says 4723.
Yeah,
the
oh,
sheet's
yeah.
23.
I see it. Yep, yep.
Principal's one, interest is another,
Got it.
anticipation notes yet another.
Okay.
47.
Yeah, it says 472310 on the tab at the bottom.
That's the
but
bottom line account, but.
Yep.
Okay. So you have the 150 in principal and the 111 in interest. Last year, you had taken $35,000 from fire impact fees and lowered the principal. This year, the entire amount is in the budget. Just to let you know, the fire impact balance that I believe was sent out to you a few weeks ago is 16,000.
Does that factor in all the
Do
new
what?
buildings?
You may.
All the new units going in, that's reflective in that current number?
That is what we've collected to
Through
date.
August, what would I sent out? earlier.
Right, but so I'm saying there is going to be more money available in the near future, potentially,
September, yes.
in advance of, you know.
Well, and next year, because it's at occupancy, right?
Yeah.
So like Rose Meadows, there'll be more.
Right.
Yeah, we
If,
just had a big one come in, a
yeah,
huge one.
a huge
Yeah.
one.
I think that was
Is
Rose
that
Meadows.
in those
No,
figures?
because that's August, September's hasn't been balanced.
So the
So
number
we
will
could
go up.
update that
It will go
number
up, yeah.
for you, and it might be something that you wanna consider, making the same
maybe if we could,
cut that we did last.
if we could have that at the same time that we get the insurance information on the 16th, because that would lead into voting on the 17th. I think that would be helpful.
It doesn't have to be final. It's the final voting's not for
Right.
a little while anyway.
Questions on debt service? Okay. That takes us through the lists that we had planned for this evening. I will entertain any interest in knocking out some of the ones from October 3rd for those that don't require directors or departments to be here. If we have any of those, like information technology.
And I don't think we have his
You weren't being
slide. I
quiet
don't think we
enough.
have those slides
And
with
that's,
us.
and that's fine. No, I was just, if there are any we could speak to, great. If not, we have a schedule, we can stick to it.
Maybe like cemeteries. and-
Mosquito cemeteries.
Good job.
If there's some of them that don't have a lot,
They're not gonna take a lot of time on the six.
Assessing.
Yeah. it's not gonna cause us to reschedule a meeting anyway.
No,
Assessing.
but I just think like, this is what's been published as the agenda, we kinda should stick to it.
I'm fine with that. I'm good. All right.
You must be, wanna go home, go to bed.
Dude, I gave a test today and I have another one to give tomorrow. I have plenty of papers to grade.
All right, so that concludes our presentations for this evening. Next week, on the 3rd, we are scheduled to go through fire administration, ambulance, planning and zoning, cemeteries, emergency management, conservation, parks and rec, IT, library, and mosquito. Okay, so that'll be our agenda for the 3rd. Thank you all for being here tonight. You're welcome to stick around or.
And if there's any questions, we'll filter them through you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. Any follow-up questions that anyone has tonight? Mr. Taylor, any additional questions that you may have? Mr. Barca, who's gonna watch this video later. Any follow-up questions, feel free to send them to me and I'll share them with Ms. Kleiner and team. All right, with that, we'll move to our regularly scheduled agenda. Mr. Leary, any additional updates from the town this evening?
Let's see. We had our annual audit, and I don't think I reported that yet, but it came back very well again. So kudos to our people here who get everything ready for them. It went pretty smooth, gave us good grades. As I was telling Mr. Cutter earlier, the only area, it was a question that I asked them, was about our unassigned fund balance, and we are at the low end of the scale. So, concern there, but not anything to hit us on. And then, that's about the end of it, other than they did the historical and heritage presentation of the archaeological dig over at the old town center.
I heard that was a packed room tonight, so lots of interest in that.
Quite the report.
The,
Check it out.
the audit report that you mentioned, is that something that's, public that will be?
Would you like to see it?
Is there a digital version of that we can share?
Is there a
I'll
digital
send it.
version?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they would have sent me that.
Perfect.
Yeah, just send it to the whole committee if they want to see
I
it.
just don't have the single audit back yet.
Perfect, thank you. Questions for Mr. Leary?
I actually have a question. Ms. Kleiner brought something up, and then the last selectmen meeting, they spent more money. So you said police spent $56,000 they spent ahead, right? On something earlier?
Yes, on the software.
And the other night, they spent $14,000 for guns. So I'm just curious, how much money does the police right now in their budget have extra that they didn't need so far?
So they had some unfunded positions, which now, luckily, we are almost full staff. I think they have two additional positions, one close to filling. And so that's where that money comes to. We can certainly, I think with the 56 and with the 14 from the guns, 14, that's going to be substantially most of it. We looked at whether we could do a car, but unfortunately no means no. So we can do a car. But that should be the bulk of it, is between the line items that we've mentioned already.
And just something else that goes along with the guns. So the new guns, I take it they probably don't use the same ammo.
No.
Right, so they're buying back the old guns, my understanding, the company, probably for like.
I wasn't at the meeting the other night, so,
I'm just wondering, are
but
they
yeah,
buying?
but that's
buying-
unusual.
Yes, they
Are
are.
they buying ammo?
Yeah, it's a buyback.
The purchases ammo included in that purchase. So the ammo is
Okay,
actually.
but the old ammo, they taking that also with the
Well,
guns?
They probably don't have very much of it because they
Okay.
don't stock a ton of it, right? They have training rounds they use. but
Yeah.
They
Right.
use over the year anyway.
But ammo comes with the new ones?
Yeah, the ammo comes with it.
Any other questions for Mr. Leary or Ms. Kleiner on the town side? Okay. We'll turn it over to Mr. Cutter for some quick school updates. I did share, right as this meeting was starting, the latest BA report, so I know many of you probably have not had a chance to read that just yet, but that is in your inbox for your reading pleasure later this evening. Mr. Cutter.
Thank you, Chairman Sun. So yes, as the chairman just mentioned, the
Thank you.
report was circulated. I think the highlight, just to mention here, is the board did authorize the transfer of $31,000 from the Capital Improvement Expendable Trust Fund. That was done through a public hearing at last week's meeting. And that is for the purpose of On-Site Insight, which is a district-wide analysis of all buildings. So this will be not just Griffin, but also including LMS and
That
Campbell.
was significantly more than that for all three buildings.
It was 31,000, and that was the recommendation from the Facilities Committee to the board.
I thought it was higher than that.
So we're hopeful that that analysis will be complete somewhere in the late October, early November timeframe. And we'll see what comes out of it. In addition to that, the other item, just for really board awareness, is there was kind of an emergency need to spend $9,000 and change, it's in the BA report, to fix some broken fire alarm equipment at Campbell High School, notably in the SAU office and some other areas, as well as if you've been to Campbell over the past several years, there's been this hissing sound on the second floor of the building from the fire. Some wires crossing, nobody's ever been able to figure it out, so this company is going to try and fix that for us as well.
$9,178.
You gotta quit pulling the alarms.
It's crazy, yeah. Other than that, we are preparing for budget season ourselves. And then just finally, the enrollment, the next enrollment kind of register for us is actually going to be taking place tomorrow, September 27th. So the enrollment numbers that I have are as of September 4th, of which there are 1,114 students as of early September. That is compared to where we ended last year at 1,172, or a difference district-wide of 58 kids.
Questions for Mr. Cutter this evening? Okay.
Very good.
Seeing none, we'll move into member input, new business, school facilities. Ms. Douglas?
So the committee is currently working on the survey, so people should be seeing codes and posters and signs, and there's talk about putting actual signage up, so I believe they went before the school board to request funding for some.
Yes, that was also at the facilities, or at the request.
Yeah.
$500?
I think it was 1,000.
It was I think it was 1,000 because they were talking about yard signs with stakes.
And those have been ordered.
Yep. So the plan is to have some signs up. So the big push right now is to encourage everybody to fill out the survey to help get an understanding of what ideas are acceptable in town and which ones are not. Because right now, we're trying to open up the pool of input. So even if you're not affiliated directly with the school, if you're a taxpayer in town, please fill it out. Your opinion matters. We want you,
There's
so.
opportunities, I believe there's a
Right.
box here at Town
Yeah.
Hall.
Hard
I have
copies are available, they'll
Hard
be.
copies, electronic, like I've seen folks out at community events. I
They'll be
appreciate
there at the
the,
polling in
Yep.
November, so please, really fill it out so that the more data we have, the better decisions can be made, the more likely we can stop spinning the wheel.
I appreciate the effort to kind of get as many people as possible to respond to this versus let's just send an email or let's just do it. Like, it's been a wide net that's been cast in a variety of different ways, which there's not much more you can ask to try to collect data that way.
And one of the nice things, one of the questions is, how is the best way to contact you? So if you're not a parent in this district getting the school newsletter, how can the school still reach out to you? So that's another valuable way to get connected within the community. So please fill out the survey.
Great.
That's what the push is for right now.
And I assume you can only fill it out once.
Well.
Yes, you're supposed to.
You're supposed to, but.
Right.
So there is a request, I believe, for address, and if somebody starts seeing 16 people at they might call town hall. So how many registered voters are there at, my house
call.
or
It's
It's like
whatever?
voting for the athlete of the week.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Keep
there
going
is-
back, yeah.
But the other thing is, the hope is that people take this seriously and understand the purpose and aren't trying to game the system, right? Like if we unfairly skew the data, then we're gonna be back next year, in the next 5 years, still doing what we're doing. So take it seriously, answer the survey, don't try to mess with the numbers, so that we can actually get an accurate idea of what will be approved at the polls in advance, before we spend a ton of money going nowhere again.
Thank you, Ms. Douglas. Capital improvement, Mr. Burke.
Did not meet.
Did not meet. When are they meeting next, do you know?
That's
okay.
All on him.
That's okay. All right. Any other member input, new business this evening?
Other than just welcome to Mr. LaPlante.
Yes, definitely.
Welcome.
And Miss Ames, just by way of order, Miss Ames will be filling in for me next week.
Perfect. And on that same note, I will be virtual next week. Mr. Taylor and I are going to be trading places. He will be here facilitating, and I will be joining from the screen. With that, yes. Yes, sir. We'll open it up for public input. Please state your name and address for the record.
John Brunel, 6 Bear Run Drive, and it's actually not public comment, it's just I want to correct a statement. I incorrectly spoke about the ammo. The ammo is not, it's not part of the purchase that's coming out of their existing budget. They're moving from 40 to 9mm, which is cheaper for both their duty ammo and their training ammo, so the savings is within the budget itself. So there's no additional cost there. 14,000 as far as my notes now look at, it is just actually the guns and the training that's required for the guns.
Thank you.
So I
Great.
just want to make sure it wasn't misspoken.
Thank you.
I said something wrong.
Thank you for correcting that, John. Any other public input this evening? Seeing none, I will close public input. Our next committee meeting, like I mentioned earlier, is next week, Thursday, October 3rd. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Motion by Ms. Douglas,
Second.
second by Mr. Leary. Quick roll call vote, Mr. Hayes. Mr. Cutter.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. LaPlante.
Yes.
Mr. Burke. And Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0-0. We are adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone.
It's frozen.